the regular board meeting of the CUSD Board of Education for June 12th, 2025. Welcome, everyone. First item on the agenda is the flag salute. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next item is roll call.
Trustee Zhao,
Here.
Trustee Chow, absent. Trustee Leon,
Here.
Trustee Manhattan,
Here.
Trustee Liu,
Here. Okay, next item is board agenda approval. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move.
Thanks, Sylvia. In a second.
A second.
Thanks, Long. Roll call vote.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
Trustee Leon,
Aye.
Trustee Manhattan,
Aye.
Trustee Liu.
Aye. Okay, item 2.1, superintendent report.
Thank you. So I have had the pleasure we've just spent the last 6 hours together through our board advance. So I will keep my report extremely short. This is our last board meeting for the 24-25 school year. We will not reconvene until August. So just in closing out the year, I think there were so many positives that happened, excitement throughout the year of seeing our portrait of a learner come to fruition, knowing that we still have a journey, but so many positive benchmarks along the way. And to see that continuing on, I think is building that anticipation and excitement for next year. We know that these 8 weeks are going to go very fast, but I do hope that staff can take some time and disconnect from work and enjoy and come back re-energized. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, moving on, the next, we have one information item tonight. It's a review of the 24-25 California dashboard local indicators. So Allison?
Yes, thank you. This is one of the required annual reports that we bring each year. This is part of the LCAP process. We're required to present the local indicators at the same meeting that you consider adoption of the LCAP. And these items also are reported to the community as part of the California dashboard. So we can open up the slides. I'll go quickly because a lot of this is probably a repeat for most of you. We have a variety of state priorities that we address. Thank you. Through the LCAP and through the local indicator process as listed there. And just as a reminder, we have 3 potential ratings: met, not met, or not met for 2 or more years on the California dashboard. And in order to get met, we need to provide this annual update for you at a regularly scheduled meeting and then report to the community by entering the results into the dashboard, which I do following this meeting each year. So moving on to the report on the actual local indicators. The first one here is basic services, and we've listed the standard there. This is a variety of things. Most of this data you have already heard in other ways, so it's just that we're required to remind you of it. This includes ensuring that students have the basic needs met at the school site. Things like textbooks and school facilities that we report to you through things like the quarterly Williams reports, as well as the annual facility inspection tool that is reported, as well as staffing data reported by Human Resources. And this is a reminder of that data. I think we haven't reported the second bullet to you in this format, but it does come through Williams. Making sure that students have standards aligned materials, that we keep track of our facility needs and our teacher credentialing needs. The first bullet was from the mid-year LCAP report, and our HR team will be providing an update in the fall. That data is lagging, so we get it from the state in August, and you will hear a formal update on the updated data at that time. The second one is progress in implementing state academic standards, and there's a scale at the bottom of the slide that I just wanted to draw your attention to. It's the same scale that we've been required to use in prior years, but we use the numbering system to do the ratings. And we get this information through self-report from principal meetings and their interactions with their staff. And so the notion here is that we're always on a cycle of refreshing things and improving things and trying to be at that 4 and 5 when we're in the cycle of refreshment. We don't typically always have a 4 and 5 in everything because we're always in process with getting new materials and then helping staff to get acclimated to those new materials. So this is the rating for this year, and you can see that some of the new textbooks that you've adopted, like in world language or in science or even history, social science, we're kind of going through that phase of ensuring that it's fully implemented and sustainable. The next area is family engagement. And with this one, we use a variety of tools, some of which you've seen before, including the LCAP parent survey results, also information from our principals and leadership teams. And then we hold an annual focus group with our parent liaisons to get some additional information. And this one, we have a required series of reflections. So these different areas are part of the rating scales that are required each year. So we go through that process and then consolidate the feedback into these different areas and just try to look for, across all of these areas, just looking for where are those areas that we want to place a focus on next school year as part of our LCAP and other priorities. So first area is relationships, and then there's a building partnerships area. Input for decision-making. This one probably seems familiar because that is one of the questions that we include in the parent survey. And so, we're always seeking to improve in this area and making sure that we're doing a better job each year engaging our parents and our community members. The next area is school climate. And this at the top there, you can see what the requirement is. So here, our local climate survey for students is the California Healthy Kids Survey. In the past, we've used the Panorama Survey. We're no longer using that tool, but it was in the prior LCAP cycle. We do ask questions of the leadership teams and the LCAP, the parents through the LCAP survey around school climate, and then we put those things together in the narrative. Each of these areas requires a narrative response in the dashboard that I enter using the information. So on this slide, this is just a reminder at the bottom, the links to the data that was previously presented to you, and the 24-25 connectedness and safety data that's pulled from that checks data, that the California Healthy Kids Survey data that we previously reported to you. The two pie charts are the leadership team and principal responses for the staff perception of school climate. So we kind of put those pieces together in our narrative, the student, the parent, and the staff perceptions to identify areas for continued growth. And then the seventh priority is broad course of study. So this is, looking at our class schedules and enrollment and many of the things that we have been working on. We've made a lot of improvements in our district program in this area compared to when this first was occurring. And this is about making sure all students have access to a broad course of study. So for example, our improvements in aligning middle school schedules, expanding electives, expanding music classes for all students so that it doesn't depend upon parent funding. Those aspects are what we capture here. So I'll be highlighting those things as well as the expansion of TK and the expansion of intervention in our district. We do have to note challenges, so I do typically include a statement around the parent donation funding varying from school to school, and that does still result in some differences in support and enrichment across our schools. And that's the end of the local indicators for this year.
All right, thank you, Allison. I'll bring it back to the board here. Maybe I'll take, thinking we'll get questions from the board members here, then we'll hear from Ava. So who'd like to go first? Would you like to? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Satish.
Okay. That's easy. That's good. Okay, thank you, Alison. This is pretty good and good to see everything is met. I have a question on slide 6, in the last bullet. So 21 schools were rated fair and 2 schools were rated poor. Can you explain a little bit on that?
Yes, so this is actually a report that's done by Chris's office. It's the facility inspection process that occurs. And so inspectors look at all the sites and they identify deficiencies and extreme deficiencies. And there's a full report for each site that we can make available. I was planning on noting the bond, and that will be addressing some of these things. I don't know if Chris, you would like to add on to this comment, the fit report. Yeah.
Take the microphones off.
So I think we're referring to the inspection report. So this is a requirement we do every year. It's actually, I think it's connected also to the Williams Act, that we have a requirement to go through and inspect all the facilities and make note of all the changes. And then each year, the inspectors come back out and they review everything that we've all those things that either deficient or things that need definite repair.
Yeah, my question is specifically about this. 2 were rated as poor. What was the what?
What were those specifically?
Yeah. Why it was poor? Like why it was, yeah. Or what kind of things?
What defines poor?
Yeah.
There were 2 schools that were identified as having poor ratings, and so we would have that in the fit report, but I don't have it up.
Yeah, I don't have it up in my head which 2 schools.
Provide that to you.
Okay.
Goes into detail.
Yeah, I think the star look good for me. Only 2 poor is it. We'll see, and how to get that back into probably, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. I would like to go next here.
I can go.
Um,
So I feel like every year this comes back and I'm starting to take for granted how, generally we do so well and meet all of the requirements. And I don't want to take that for granted because I know a lot of work and effort and thought and energy goes into making sure that as a district, we're meeting all of these things. So thank you for that. So just kind of piggybacking on Satisha's question, then the fact that because I see the green check mark on each of the things, but I don't see it on basic services. So does that mean that?
So
it's
all of-
not? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, yes. So we have met all of these for prior years. It's just, I think I left it off that slide. When I enter it again this year, then we will meet it. Meet it just means that we have done this process and entered the data. So as soon as we finish the meeting tomorrow, I'll enter it and we'll meet the deadline and it'll be met again.
Great, thank you.
Thanks. Maybe Long.
Okay, thank you for presentation. Yeah, still the focus on the basic services. Right now, I guess those levels for those school fit report that could be say good, fair, and poor. Is that the 3 level or?
Yes.
Okay, so we all get 21 in fair and 2 in poor. And say after we have a Mayor Z, say what do you expect our new ratings?
I think I should pass to Chris because this is really his department report.
As we've been talking about, those schools that have been identified with either some deficient or poor conditions, those things will be identified specifically. Some of them could be addressed through maintenance. Some may involve doing some further deeper work with Measure Z. So it really all depends on what specifically. If I recall right, some of these deficiencies could be lack of electrical work or lights that are out of service, ceiling tiles that shows leaking. So some of those things will be addressed with the bond, like all the roofing projects. So we shouldn't have any more deficiencies with any roofs or any ceiling tiles that look like they've been damaged due to roof leaks, things like that.
Okay, so I expect that every school will be fair after, say, in 10 years, maybe.
No, I'm hoping
Right.
it's not going to take that long to get them all back in fair or good. I'd rather see them all in a good condition, not
Yeah,
just fair.
right, exactly. Okay, cool, thank you.
Thanks. Ava, would you like to go next?
Thank you. So, thank you, Allison, for presenting this. I agree with the LCAP dashboard update and what they're seeing, where we are missing. I'm always, I don't have any questions. Do you want me to wait? I'll hold my comments until later.
No, go ahead. I think go ahead and share the comments now too, please.
Okay. I agree. I'm always a person who's moving forward, so I always look at room for improvement. Not like it's a bad thing, but it's also just saying this is where our needs are at. And I like especially the areas in which we are scoring threes to see if we can score higher on those in the following years. Uh, one of the uh, places where I see that were highlighted in my thing is the visual and performing arts, agreeing that more funding needs to be helped supporting our visual arts. I do want to thank that our PTOs and PTAs, parent organizations, that are currently supporting that, and do recognize that not all the parent fundings are equal at each of the school sites. Helping and supporting our families, exercising and knowing what their educational rights are. I think those are the ones that stand out to me. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ava. For me, first, I just want to echo Sylvia's point that there's work that goes behind getting all the green check marks. I know we're operationally excellent, but it's not something we want to overlook. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the team for this. Two questions. So one on family engagement on slide 12, if we could go there. That bottom clause where we have a 2, and I know this came from the Department of Education, the Family Engagement Framework. So perhaps I should go ask somebody in Sacramento, but this seems like this is everything to have families, teachers, principal, administrators work together to plan, design, implement, evaluate, to do things at school and district. That's pretty much everything. I was just wondering what your thoughts are on what are things we could do to move this up a notch. This seems like a catch-all for everything, but I'd like to follow a spirit of the intent here and just see whatever thought you had on,
Yeah, I mean, it is a
everything.
large statement. I think when I think about next year, since
Mhm.
if we kind of bring it down to, okay, we're doing this because we're thinking about next year's LCAP and next year's district priorities. We were just talking about future ready learning and portrait of a learner. So I think a concrete next step that we're already planning to take is, we're going to have a teacher advisory, we're going to have a community advisory. Hopefully we can have those teams interface. And that would be, a concrete way that we may be able to,
Hmm.
bridge this. I think, right now, we don't have this broadly happening across sites. I mean, we hear from our
I see.
principals that we have, wonderful parent volunteers and generally small groups of parent leadership groups happening at the school sites. And so in addition, we're trying to plan ahead to have more opportunities for our parent leaders to meet other parent leaders and trying to build some infrastructure around that. I think, just in general, this is one of the areas that after COVID, we had the closed campuses for a long time. And it's been, a process to kind of build back those partnerships and in that way. And we're doing it, but it is an area that we still need to focus on. So I think between bringing those parent leaders together, working with our principals, and then having our portrait touch points, we can make some good progress in that area.
All right, well, thank you. That was good. I was wondering how I answer this question, but I think I get what we're building on these advisory groups we have, getting them connected and getting some consistency across the campuses with touch points. Okay, no, thank you. Yeah, because I read that and I felt like everyone is in here except the students. They've listed everyone but the students in this. Second question, and you may have addressed this at a previous meeting before. This is around school climate. I know earlier we talked about we're not using Panorama going forward, and we still have the Healthy Kids survey. And I feel like maybe you mentioned it, maybe I've just forgotten. Are we thinking about bringing in another assessment tool to sort of measure some of the emotional health type of things? Or do you think that's something we can do with just a Healthy Kid survey? Or again, just what are your thoughts in this area?
Yeah, we have had some questions and conversations about that, but at this moment, we really are thinking that we're getting some good data from that California Healthy Kids survey. We've been reporting on safety and connectedness as part of the LCAP, but you may remember when Amy was here presenting, we talked about the different domains there, and there is that section also on meaningful learning. How much do students feel like what they do matters at school, and which is directly tied to portrait. So when we think about climate, I think we've been thinking about mainly, the safety aspects, but if we use that same tool but broaden to how kids feel about being at school and what they're doing actually for their learning, we think that there's some good potential there. So we're not thinking of adding new tools
Okay.
right now, but just building on that one.
Great. Okay, well, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? If not, do we have any public comments on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay, all right, then we'll go ahead and close this one out then. Thank you, Allison. All right, the next item, 4.1, is a discussion action, approval of the Measure Z bond project list.
I'm going to go ahead and kick us off, and then I'm going to turn it over to Todd Shimada to further address. I did want to open up tonight and just say, after last week's meeting, really, I think bringing back information tonight is kind of that restart. One of the realizations is, as a board, this is a new board, and even in my role as I am now, we have never initiated a bond before. So our previous bond was back in 2012, and so this is really new experience for all of us. And so I think sometimes, we want to keep that momentum. We absolutely want to spend our dollars most efficiently. We want to get started. We're excited about that, but also realizing in May 8th, we had brought you a summer list, and then suddenly we brought you a very comprehensive list. And then I think that got kind of convoluted. So wanted to kind of take a sideways step tonight and just recalibrate. So two parts tonight. One, we are bringing back the summer list that you saw on May 8th. And we can walk through that there are some items that, when we say have approved, contracts have already gone through, so you've approved those. There are some items on there that there aren't contracts attached to them, but we're still wanting to move forward and beginning that work, specifically thinking about the gym and the central kitchen, the planning stages of that. And then we did want to reset because we're getting ready to head into a summer break. And part of that conversation was about the project list and what does that look like? We do have our facility planning committee, which I think needs to be utilized as part of this process. So Todd's going to kind of walk through what are those next steps. We have the first phase of the Measure Z. We have our funds, our bonds are sold. What's going to be the next steps to continue and to utilize the other approximately 247 million? So I will invite Todd to the podium. Or you stay as your seat, I'm sorry. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share about Measure Z. Really going to take opportunity to just kind of share how we develop a program and just take a quick look at where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. So on the first slide, we have kind of a timeline, develop our facility master plan in 2019-2020. In 2024, we had a ballot Measure Z that passed. Super thankful to the community. 2025 summer right now, this is where we are, have some quick start summer projects. June of 25, continuing on, need to do additional site assessments. In July, we'll be developing project scope. In August, scope confirmation. So that's when schools are back. We have opportunities to check in with school site leadership to confirm scope for each of the school sites. And then we'll be developing a draft of the program implementation plan, as well as the master bond project list. Also wanted to mention that in September timeframe, we'll also be coming back and reviewing the PLA with the board. A little information, facility master plan guides the ballot measure. So our FMP was developed through collaboration and input from staff, students, parents, school committees across the district, as well as the Board of Education. Three top priorities that came out of, the work were site repair and modernization, safety and security, play spaces, play fields, and hard courts. Now, when we look at the measure Z ballot language, it really shows that, the information from the FMP going on to the ballot. So we look at the language of the measure Z, we have replace, repair, modernize deteriorating roofs, heating, cooling, ventilation systems, and electrical systems. So that's one of the top priorities from FMP. We also have acquire, install, upgrade campus safety, security systems, including intercom, emergency communication systems. And then we also have renovate, repair, replace, construct, install athletic playfields, playgrounds, play surfaces, and gyms, and other physical education athletic facilities. So you kind of compare the two lists, very, very similar. So really, the FMP informs the work that we're going and we put forward for Measure Z. So our summer quick start projects, we have re-roofing projects, TK playground projects, perimeter fencing projects, safety management preparedness, platform project, and network upgrades. These are the summer projects that were shared with the board on May 8th, as Stacy mentioned, and then we're bringing back that list for approval this evening. So the process for the program implementation plan kind of followed the flow chart there. So as I mentioned before, we're going to be completing additional assessments and site investigative walks to develop a really clear project scope for each site. In August, confirming project scope with school site leadership, and then confirming budget alignment with available funds. Then we'll be developing a master bond project list, develop a project phasing and sequencing plan, and develop a cohesive program timeline. Part of the process will review the PIP with our measure group, Measure Z bond group. The group is actually our facility committee made up of two of our board members, Board President Jerry Liu, Board Vice President Satish Madhathil, Superintendent Yao, our Chief Business Officer Chris Chu, and myself. And then September timeframe, we'll be presenting the Measure Z program implementation plan to the board for review and approval. A little information on our bond support staff. So we have on July 1, we'll have a bond program director. So that our CUSD bond program director is responsible for the planning coordination.
I think we need to switch slides for it, sorry.
Direction of all district facility projects, including construction, modernization, renovation, and all related bond programs. The person also represents a district and works directly with project architects, consultants, contractors, and all agencies. We also have program management consultants. They will be assisting us with the development of a program implementation plan from beginning to board approval. And they'll also be providing program support throughout the bond program. We also have construction management. They provide the district with on-site project support and timely updates. They assist the district with completing projects on time and on budget. Questions?
Okay, thank you, Todd. Let's go around here, Satish.
No, I don't have any specific questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll come back. Sylvia,
No
no
questions.
questions? Okay, Long?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think thank you for putting back those the much cleaner list, and so some of the like those re-roofing and what was that the kinder the TK retrofits, they are already approved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And so right now, say this list, say when we approve, it's basically, yeah. So the major part is in the future projects, and but the rest, say if we pass today, that means you can start for those like those gym planning. So you can start it in the summer, right?
Correct.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Ava, please go ahead.
Hi, Don. Thank you for being here. I have a few questions. Going down to page 4 of the what is it called? Project list group for the summer projects so far. Go back to my notes. Page 4. Okay. What is the usual percentage set aside for a bond measure or bond project? Sorry, bond project.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
What's the usual percentage set aside for a bond project in terms of the cost of issuance, legal management and planning, program planning and assessments?
If I'm hearing right, the question is what percentage of the funds are set aside for
Typically.
project management?
Yeah, I know it says 4%, but what determined that?
I think basis of a lot of our contingencies, program management, we're basing off of our last program, Measure H.
What is the percentage management from currently for the surrounding school districts that we're in Santa Clara County, I guess?
I don't have that off the top of my head. We could certainly do some calling around and ask what percentage they use. I'd say we are very comparable to any of the bond projects that are happening or have happened.
What I Casey notes. I the cost of issuance, I'm sure it's something that's set, right? And
The
legal
cost of
process
issuance.
issuance.
Ava, can you repeat the question in regards to the cost of issuance? Is that a set number?
Yes.
Yeah, those are all the related fees to the bond issuance that would cover bond counsel's time, the underwriters involved with selling bonds, Dale Scott's commissions, things like that. That's all the bond issuance costs. And those are either fixed dollar amounts or I believe there might be a percentage for the underwriters.
I understand that, and I think goes the same with the legal part. I think the part of what the percentage I'm concerned about is the management. And how much management usually costs for a bond. Um,
So I can take a stab at this. Under that program management, remember that that is covering the fees for our construction management, our project management, and our program management. From what I understand, that this is actually coming in low, that it's typically about 6%, and this is coming in at about 4%.
okay, can you send me information on that from our surrounding districts? Specifically on the cost of the bond management part. It makes sense looking at the construction management. If you need to get me information on that. And clarification on the bond list regarding the cost of the planning of the gyms, is it just for the planning part, not on the construction part of the middle school
Correct.
gyms?
Yes, that is. It just allows us to initiate that planning. Right now, we just have it built as a very general gymnasium. And so that would allow them to start walking the sites, to develop some optional plans. Also would involve then some communication with the staff and the sites as they develop that out. So very initial planning.
So, okay, thank you for the clarification on the planning part. Where would that be, for the middle schools? Just under gymnasium, just for the planning part?
Correct.
Okay, think, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, you're finished, Ava?
Oh, no, I thought someone was saying something, so I can't see if someone's at the
Oh.
podium or speaking, so I wasn't going to
What was
interrupt.
your
whoever's
last
there.
question about the
No.
We're
gyms?
just having a little bit of difficulty hearing you, so
Would you?
we apologize if we
Yeah,
have to
Ava, would you
repeat.
mind repeating your last question? It didn't quite come through here, please.
I think you answered my question regarding that the gyms or the $200,000 would go towards the planning of each of the gyms that we have for the middle schools.
Yes.
The question I have is like for program management planning support on page 4, it's line item 66-0097. That $13 million, is that only up until the issuance of the first bond that we have put aside for $75 million? Or is that the cost of the entirety of the bond?
I believe this is that cost is based on the whole $347 million bonds of $347 million worth of projects. So not based off of what we're issuing now, it's based off of the entire life of the bond.
Okay.
So maybe to help
Question.
clarify on that, Ava, on the section where you're looking at, where you're seeing the program management, the district-wide contingency, the catastrophic contingency, the future projects, and the furniture and equipment, that is inclusive under the $347 million bonds. That's not specific to the summer project. But what it allows by having this on the summer list, it initiates that we're moving forward with implementing the bond.
I would feel more comfortable if, are we moving on to, I can talk about the statement later on. Or are we still doing questions?
Just maybe questions for now, if that's okay?
Okay, sure.
All right. Was that it, Ava? Did you have other questions or only comments after this?
The safety and security, is that just on the fences that we have approved? And the platform of the software that we talked about a couple months ago? And this is page 5 of the master project list report.
So that item is in addition to the security fencing. All of the security fencing is called out in the specific school site line item on the list.
It also mentions like fire alarms and all that. So is that inclusive of everything that's listed then, that for the entirety of the bond, that's all we're spending for safety and security?
Yeah, so that's been targeted. There is some, let's see. I know.
So it's on page 4 and 5, there is calling out safety and security.
Correct.
And I would offer to the board, we actually have our construction management and our project managers that are here today. And I'm would feel very confident if you wanted to ask them questions, we could bring them up to the podium as well, just to make that available as a resource for you.
Sure, I think I probably prefer the staff. I'm not sure who's got what specialty, so feel free to invite folks up if that's appropriate.
Thank you.
My last
Ava,
question
did I-
would,
Oh,
yeah, I just want to make sure if we're allotting safety and security to that money, is that the money that's just for the summer projects? Or is that money in terms of allotment for all the projects? Because my understanding this project list is for the things that we are doing for this summer.
So there are, if you look on page 5, and then if you go back to page 4, there are also calling out the technology, I believe, is on there. That is also included. That will be for the duration of the bond.
Okay,
Each of the fencings is called out independently for the security fencing, and then there is a general item on page 5 that's the 4.5 million for security and safety.
Tony, can you maybe speak
on
up?
top of that.
please.
I'm on, okay. So the 4.5 million is a number, a placeholder for future projects that we have to do. That's not all the projects we're going to do. Because again, that's just a starting point. Once we get through the implementation plan, we'll be able to identify all of the projects that are related to safety and security. Because again, the fire alarm projects, that'll definitely be more than 4.5 million, but that'll come from wherever the big pot of money is that we have, what we have left,
The future projects.
the future projects. So again, if we need more things out of that, but again, this was just a starting point when they put the budgets together, so we knew what we could spend things on.
So in the fall, when the team brings back additional information and begins evolving and developing the future project list, you're going to start seeing more delineation in some of these areas.
Correct. You'll see more of, there'll be more fire, whatever the projects are, to identify what they are. And then also within that, those projects, we'll group them into basically how the bond was sold. Again, so safety and security, again, that number could be 40 million, or again, whatever the number is, once we actually do the assessments throughout the campuses. That should grow.
Can I ask whoever is speaking, because I can't see you? I'm sorry, there's no camera on the person who is speaking, to identify yourself so we know who's speaking.
Sorry, I'm Tony Canistep. I'm with Brailsford and Dunleavy. We're the program manager. So I was the
Okay,
one that was speaking last week with Chris, just to let you know.
that was extra information. Thank you. I am going to ask the question I had earlier was, I remember last time at the last master project list under safety and security, it was around like $10 million. Where did that money shift to if it's now $4.5 million? Because last time we looked at it and I was like, why is safety and security $14 million? And that was definitely not an item that us all as a board have discussed at that amount.
Well, and correct. Last time it should have been, it was a mistake. It should have been whatever it is, 1.3. There was an extra zero added at the end to that number. And that was on line, actually.
Tony, I think the question is now that we have this list, that variance, where did it go? It went back into the main pot.
It went back into the future projects. That's where it went to.
Okay, those are the questions that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Ava. Thanks, Tony, for coming up. Actually, if you could stay, I actually want to maybe double click on the security, safety security one, there 4.5 million. So I'm reading the description and it's got fences and it has
and now I can't see with them on my glasses, but I see the PA, there was a fire alarm, PA. Now, some of those items in the previous version, or not the previous version, but the larger list were broken out by school, right? It's about
Correct.
$1 million each. And so it sounds like that's now off in the, some future list. I'm trying to understand what this 4.5 covers. Is it a down payment towards some of these things? Is it a planning? What am I getting for the 4.5 here?
So again, we've identified in the list, they identify some projects as you've already approved.
Right.
For a certain number. Now, that budget might increase because again, that was a number that they put in for planning.
Mhm.
And in reality, it actually might grow, but the number for fencing for one of the schools, if the budget's larger, then for instance, let me just find one.
Tony,
I'm sorry, sir.
maybe I think the question is that in regards to the 4.5 million, has that scope of work been thoroughly defined, or is it
Oh, no,
really?
again, nothing.
So it's a placeholder
Correct.
for,
It's a placeholder for future projects that we're going to identify.
But once we define that exact scope of work, there will be an exact dollar amount
Okay.
and an exact description of the project.
all right. Okay.
Correct. In fact, what'll happen is we'll identify projects and that number will go down. And this line item eventually might be
Start.
eliminated because again, we've used up all that money. Because remember, these are just placeholders
Okay.
for certain types of projects.
So like from last time, Collins, just, there was a PA system, a fire alarm system replacement. Each of those has a quote. So what you're saying is this 4.5 is going to go towards some of these?
Some of those things, correct.
Okay, so it's basically you're pulling out partial parts of different projects and grouping and calling it this. Okay,
Correct.
all right. So one of the things I don't see on here are security cameras. Has that ever been on the list? Is that maybe a future thing? I'm just sort of, guess on the facilities committee, maybe I should ask myself, but has that been a discussion or?
It hasn't been identified yet specifically as a project,
Okay,
but it will be considered as we sit down and talk about all those other things. to add.
That'll be one of the things we talk about in the next few months.
Understand.
What do we want to do?
Okay.
How do we identify, how much is that going to cost? Can we afford that compared to all the other things
got it.
that we're going to do?
Okay, thank you. Switching gears a bit, another question around re-roofing. So if I read the description, it talks about the projects about removal. There's wording in there about replacement with owner supply materials, which it makes it sound like since we're the owner. So that quote that's being provided, is that the entire project or is there a materials budget that's not covered in here?
So
Because if you read the,
believe, and I wasn't a part of putting all of this together.
okay,
When you actually bought your material through a California, it's called CMAS, it's California Material.
okay,
Basically, it's where you can buy things without going
Right.
out to bid,
got
and
it.
it saves you money. And then you actually have to do the labor. So
And-
we're providing the material and we provided we bid a contract for a contractor to install all that material.
I'm sorry, you're providing the material.
No, the district is.
District's
So the
providing-
district
Yeah,
is
we-
buying the material
Okay,
through a CMAS contract.
got it.
Correct. We contracted with the roofing contractor to do the work. And then as part of it, we purchased the materials directly through that CMAS bidding
Got it. Okay,
process.
so it's just the labor part, not the material. part.
Correct.
Great, thank you. All right, those are my two questions. It's just, Satish, please go ahead.
I did not have a question then. Now I have two questions. Right. So with this now, all the roofing, we are just starting or the roofing projects will be completing during the summer?
Yeah, the 4 schools that we have, they'll be completed this summer.
So can I say that like entire or only limited buildings or every building will be completed? Every school roofing project will be completed during summer
Of the 4 that we're doing,
of the 4.
correct, yeah. And then we'll be planning for future school re-roofing projects in the coming summers.
Okay. And this material, whatever we got is for this 4 schools.
Correct.
Okay. Then the second one is the fencing, right? I know that few are left out. In this summer, we complete every fencing.
Correct. Some of them may push a little bit closer to school starting, or there might be some elements like a gate or two that we have to, finish installing. But we have, both contractors on board. Actually did a job walk with the contractor for Nimitz, Stockelmeyer and Eisenhower today. So we're ramping up, getting going and wanting to get them done.
As the board may recall, we had to go out to rebid 2 of the sites. Those 2 sites that we rebid got a late start. Those are the ones I think Todd is referring to will probably push into the fall, just because we got a late start on those 2 sites that we had to rebid those projects.
Okay, so these are the new contract, new construction company. The fence who is going to do is not the previous ones.
Different contract.
Yeah, one of the two is a repeat contractor from the first group of schools. And then the other contractor is a new contractor that we haven't worked with in the past for fencing.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
I do. I thought we were gonna go through the project list separately.
Ah,
That's why I didn't
sorry,
start
my bad.
questions initially. So can I just, I think I'm getting a little confused now. So like, for example, on the project list that we're seeing, the running track, is the running track a summer project?
It's the planning of
It's
the
the
running
plan.
track. It's just the planning stages on the gymnasium and the running track.
No, but the planning thing is a separate line item from the running tracks.
Yeah,
Because
we
the
can-
running track just says running track, but the gym says planning and programming, so I'm just trying to understand. Is the, is,
The gym as it's labeled there says planning.
right,
I believe the running track, there is no other specific information. I think we can also assume that based off the dollar amount, that's not going to be the cost of putting in an all-weather track. This is just to begin the planning. We probably should have labeled planning running tracks, kind of like we did for the gyms.
okay, and that is a summer project.
The planning,
The
we
planning
want to
of
begin the
running
planning.
Track is a summer project.
Correct, because these kind of projects can't get done over 8 weeks.
Would it
These
be
are,
helpful if we go back to the summer planning list and actually bring up the document? So maybe that staff could walk you through that entire list so you could ask questions as it comes up. I feel like we're popping back
Yeah.
and forth and all over. And maybe just to
Yeah.
make it a little bit clearer if we can go through the project list.
That would be great.
Hmm.
I think the other question I have is, so the way that the project list is presented, it has the total as, as our total bond, which is the 347 million, but are we getting confused as far as the process goes, as far as what we're approving? Because if we're approving the summer projects, should we just be approving the cost of those summer projects? Because if what we're being presented with is kind of the whole thing, including all of the future projects.
you're approving future projects, but those future projects haven't been defined yet.
You're
So
approving a dollar
You're
amount. for the
approving the
future
dollar amount
project.
towards future
They're all lumped
projects.
together into a future project. So they're the 247 million, I believe.
260.
That we have it.
The three,
So
yeah,
that's
the
what I'm thinking. Maybe we
347.
could go and walk through this list, each page by page, so there's an understanding of
Sure.
what it means.
One of the things we have to do is actually identify projects to start them. Okay, so that's why some of the projects just have a planning number so we can actually start that. That's part of that's why we're doing some of these things. And again, that's why there's numbers that have big buckets of money because we haven't identified those yet. And then we'll come back to the board later and identify for you to approve those.
So if we go from the top on the Blue Hills, the TK Kinder Playground, that's already a approved contract. The contract's been approved by the board. The work is beginning. So that's going to happen this summer. If we go through Collins, same thing. It's already approved, in process of being completed this summer. Cupertino Middle School, we have not formally approved the planning of the running track. It's listed as beginning in the summer, so that hasn't formally been approved. There isn't a contract per se that comes along with that, because it's going to be our team that's here that's going to start doing some of that planning. If we go down to DeVargas, the TK Kinder Playground contract's been approved. Work is starting this summer.
Can I
Eaton,
ask, sorry, as you're going, so, and then these will be, the TK Kinder Playground is starting the summer and will be completed by August?
that would be the hope, I think.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for, although there's potential of schedule slipping into the school year.
Is there like a priority, or are there I assume multiple sites are being done at the same time, or is it kind of like a
They're all being done
They're all being done at
concurrently.
the same concurrently?
Yeah, so the current ones, the ones that are leading off or getting out early are our retrofits, because those are where we're just replacing some elements of the playground and not, total replacement of the playground. So some of the full replacement of the playgrounds, we're also taking the opportunity to look at an alternative surface than the wood chips, rubber surface and or artificial grass. I've been working with the school staffs on that. So some of the full replacements are looking like they may be either beginning end of the summer and then going into the end of the year. But our hopes is that we do get a start. But yeah, right now we don't have a full schedule on the whole full replacement playgrounds at those campuses.
I'll defer to staff to continue down the list. I got us started.
Yeah, really, if you're looking at anything that's TK playground, those are all in some sort of form they've started. So we're either under contract with the recreation equipment manufacturer. We've actually had Lincoln was completed on Tuesday, so the retrofits are going forward. Security fencing, those are all have started and are in the process of starting construction. So really, when you're looking at the school items, the running track planning and the gymnasium planning has not started yet.
And then maybe go to the district-wide bucket, see if there's anything in there that's specific project, or are those just basically general buckets?
Yeah, those are general buckets with the exception of some of the IT projects, so the security badging as well as some network and cabling projects.
Okay, let's say, anybody on the board with questions, or Ava, do you have anything right now?
Yes, my hand is up.
Same.
Okay, let me go ahead and find where. I put
Again,
those
the
questions.
sound quality was a little off.
Oh, I said yes, I do have questions. My hand was up. So do we need a dollar amount in order to start projects?
I'm sorry, I caught do we need a dollar amount to?
To have an estimate, like, especially with looking at the last category district-wide, pages 4 and 5, are the projects that has not been estimated out, the ones that were not the planning for the central kitchen, the technology infrastructure, and the safety technology part with all the others, which include the estimated budget for the future. Do we have to have a dollar amount for that to go forward?
I was confused as far as there's dollars for all of these items on here. Use your central kitchen one. That's for planning. We haven't there obviously we're not going to be building anything this summer, but this is just to authorize staff to proceed with getting the planning started for the central kitchen. Does that answer that first question?
No. So I think what I'm having a hard time is the same question that Sylvia had. Like each of the specific school sites, we know exactly how much money we're spending each of the school sites, whether it be fencing or TK or planning. But when it get to the district wide, it's a mixture of things that we know exactly how much it's going to cost or how much we're allotting, versus some of the things are just general estimates of we're just putting money aside, and it really confuses me as a person. What am I exactly approving here in this last part? I'm comfortable approving certain parts because I know exactly how much money we're spending on. But if we're estimating this is the amount of money we're spending around the whole length of the bond, that part I'm not comfortable with. So I'm wondering if we can separate out those parts and then only approve the parts that we know approximately how much it's going to cost based on the estimate.
Yeah, so currently right now, as far as future, so all known projects that were like our summer list have been funded and budgeted for. So anything additional or new, once we complete the master bond project list, then we'll have known projects that we need to then, we'll have on the list, we'll bring back to, the board for approval. And that'll identify, okay, these projects, modernization at this school, fire alarm at this school, then we'll have known, budgets to then, be able to approve. In general, when we're looking at the general, those items or those buckets of, or categories, those are things that we, identified from our previous bond as part, putting a placeholder there because we know that, we're going to have some work in that area. So we, put a certain percentage toward that. As we spoke to earlier, the future projects, the 260 billion there, that'll end up going out to all the other projects. So even with the projects that are listed there as far as general, those could change in the future as well. But I think it's important for us, when we look at the last page, that everything adds up to that 347, million dollars, no less or no more. Because then that's would be the question of, what if it's less or what if it's more? So it's really taken accounted for and really coming up to that 347 million, but knowing that, as we complete our implementation plan, our master bond project list, that those will change.
If I can clarify, I believe the question is on our list here, there are specific summer projects which we've called out. One of those under the general would be the planning for the central kitchen that we'd like to get started. I also know that our safety management, that 1.3, I think the question is because all of those other amounts are estimate amounts and they aren't, our summer work is not contingent on them. They ask from the board is, are we able to approve and call out? These are specific summer projects that we're going to approve tonight. We're going to bring all of that rest of the information back as we build out the project list in the fall. Could we omit those as part of the approval tonight? We're just basically approving the projects that are being done this summer, that dollar amount. We're going to come back in the fall and we're going to begin having that conversation about the 4.5 million safety and security, the 240 other million. Can we pull that aside for tonight? Because our focus is we want to get started and make sure that we complete everything in the summer. So that I believe if I'm hearing that right, Ava, the question is, can we just focus on the summer projects? That's what we want approval for tonight.
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
budget,
yes, yes.
can we add just for the summer projects? Because that's where I'm the most comfortable that we have talked about, not to throw in the other items in which we haven't delivered, saying that we were going to visit it until we get back from school.
So I think to clarify that, as we're looking at this project list, everything listed under a specific school is a summer project that we are wanting to do. When we get to the district-wide, my memory isn't very good, so if we can go back to the slide prior. Under this district-wide, the things that we want to do this summer are our central kitchen planning, and then on the following page, we want to do our security, that is our Centegix badges, the 1.3 million. Those are the things that for the summer we want to get done, the absolutes. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that would be asking the board for.
We'll also have a partial on the network upgrade as well. Network.
That was my question, asking Mahmood, because I remember we did approve some networking contracts. Mahmood, can you point out which of the IT?
I was testing to see if he was paying attention.
So the network upgrade is happening. It's actually already kind of happened. Then the cabling under the data infrastructure, a piece of that, we potentially have Miller scheduled to work this summer. We just haven't finalized it. So ideally we would be good for us. We already approved the project. So ideally we'd want that budgeted just in case we are able to successfully do it. And that would end up being, I think it was roughly around 350,000.
Thank you, Mahmood.
Did you have any other questions, Ava?
That was my questions. I haven't gotten to my comments, but I'll wait till my turn. Thank you.
I have one question here. So some of this in the last page, some of this program management stuff also, a portion of that will be distributed across, right? You have a big bucket of program management.
Correct. So we've already
So-
approved the contracts for our construction and our program management, which would be part of this.
Correct. So today when we are approving, let's say, a 10% of it or something like that, are we approving or it's built in already? For example, roofing. You need a program management, some portion of program management cost is going towards roofing of 4 schools, right? So when we are putting a 4% or 14%, whatever the number we are putting in, this is for the entire project. So you are doing 20 projects now out of 200. So there is some 20% of this project needs some associated cost coming from the common one. So how do you derive that out of this? Because you still will be paying for program management. You still be paying for some other, I don't want to use the word overhead, but managing the project. So somewhere that needs to be shown also. I don't know how you show all these things, but basically I think most of us are getting confused with that. See, let's say you have 347 million, and out of that 47 million, we are going to do summer project. Okay. That includes some program management, that includes some planning, that includes the realistic implementation. Something of that kind we need. That will give us, now 300 more million we have extra that we will be doing beyond summer. Something that will be the best way to represent this.
So it's probably a little bit complicated that way. I think my recommendation would be we keep it pretty simple and ask to approve the summer project list because we already have our construction manager, we already have our program management, we already have our bond management. That's going to be in there. You've already approved that because that's the life of the entire bond, the 13 million. So if you want us to cut it out, the 72 million of the bond is roughly a quarter of it. That becomes very complicated. By approving or not approving that tonight doesn't change the summer work. That's gonna
Stacy,
happen. It's
maybe
really about the
maybe
summer
to
projects.
clarify. For construction management services are costs directly related to those specific projects. So there are dollar amounts assigned to the roofing projects. There's dollar amounts assigned to the playground projects. Some of that final cost for each one of those projects will have monies towards construction management services. Those projects will show the construction management service. Those monies will be pulled from that central bucket, and then they will be assigned to each one of those individual projects. So that's where we will capture those construction management services, and you will see it as part of the total project cost. So those will be pulled over from that central bucket and assigned to those projects. You have money there right now for each one of those school projects. It's an estimate right now. It's not going to be the final cost. So that helps.
I got what you're saying, but I think, otherwise we should, at least this management cost, then probably we shouldn't be approving at all. It should be kept separately. Is an assumption that will be used as and when needed or something like that. That is the only way, unless you can, take a portion and show it as part of the.
No,
So
that's what I'm
if,
saying. I
if
think-
we ask, for example, roof, how much we spent, okay? So let's say 40 million is for the roofing out of 240. So that has a good amount coming from that management part also. So those things will not be reflected directly right now, or all this kind of management or other the project cost will be set separately.
I think,
I don't know how.
I think Ava wanted to build on what you're sharing. So
Okay,
if you're
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with
Okay,
it.
Ava, maybe please go ahead.
Oh, hi, Letitia, I was thinking about what you were saying and that not to put that there has to be some management that's already involved, and I do believe you're correct. We from our last meeting, from the consent calendar, we approved the construction management amount to pull that out, and I believe we approved Todd's position from April meeting, and that for the current 3-year contract we have with a bond management company, it was put it down. $2,610,463. So maybe not to complicate things, in regards to what Stacy was saying, but those are what we have approved so far. And to have that as a separate line item, and that that way we're approving certain amounts of things that we have already approved that will align with what's going on with summer projects. Does that help?
I think it'd be helpful if someone want to cast that. Eventually, there needs to be a motion. Clearly, we're not going to be approving this list as a whole. So if people want to make a proposal in the form of what on this list we're moving to approve, that would be helpful. I guess I would ask that. So we're on the same page on what we're voting for.
Yeah, so I'm okay
Okay,
with the. She wants to.
I'm
I was
sorry,
gonna
Ava,
make
did
a
you?
motion. I'll make a motion to
Well,
approve.
wait, I'd like
the-
to hear from the public
Oh,
also,
sorry.
if, yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, yeah,
So
of course. Go ahead.
what's a motion also is important, right? I thought, I think we all have an opinion about that motion, what
Right,
it should
yeah.
be, right?
Okay.
So I think my opinion is whatever you said, it's a clear what you are going to achieve in summer. That's all we are going to approve. And this management thing is not very clear for me still yet how it is being distributed. But still, at least in a way, if you say corresponding management expenses, including construction management or whatever, also is part of that typical that amount. I don't know from this,
Okay.
right? For this, but I'm okay for approving that portion of it.
Right, so it sounds like we don't have any more questions at this point. We're in the, oh, you do have,
Yeah,
please, sorry, Long,
okay.
yeah. Go
So,
ahead.
yeah, so sorry, okay. Yeah, I do have some questions about two things. Say, for the central kitchen or gymnastic, we start planning with 200K, and that sounds reasonable because we need to talk with architect for design, right? And so. But for running track, okay, okay, yeah, I think I probably do not have to do too much of the designing there. So say if we do not spend all the 200K on the running track planning, so will the money left for the construction?
If the design cost comes in, I don't know what the design cost will be. Let's assume it comes in less than 200,000. Whatever is not spent will go back to the main pot there. So it's again still a planning budget amount. The design could be in excess of 200,000 because there's with a running track, it's you would not think that there's other state requirements. I mean, accessibility. The state architect will require us to have the running track ADA compliant. So that will involve quite a bit of design work and design and planning. So again, I don't want to not answer your question. I'm just saying that that cost of $200,000 is just a placeholder. If we don't spend all of it, it will go back to the main budget.
Okay. Yeah, and another question about say the roofing. Say, do we know how long it say what's the life for the roofing?
Hopefully forever, but 15 to 20
Probably
years.
not. Okay, but
Yeah.
it's say some are 20 years and some are 50 years. So what kind of roofing I will get? Do you have an idea?
Trumco product is warranty for 20 years.
20 years. Okay. All right. Yeah. Last time I think we asked for, say, for each item, whether we already approved and maybe mark it as has another column marked as approved. So then we can have a clear, can make it clear to everyone.
Well, thanks. Maybe just a reminder for folks who like to speak. I know this is of interest to the community. Please fill out a comment card that's on our website, and so we'll call on you when
fill comment card in there. So I just maybe before we go to public comments, so I like to ask my board members to think about, let's cast this in the form of a motion. Whether you describe it just however you want to characterize what items off this list that you would like the board to consider approving. Okay, so that would be very, but go ahead. I want to go to public comments after this, so please go ahead with your question.
Yes, I had another question that I missed in my list of notes. I know last time we asked about this from last meeting, but can we get an estimated time frame of each of the projects for the summer? Like it should finish by this time, or if we started, and I understand with construction things may be changing and fluid, but it would be nice to have it so that we have an idea of when things should be finishing and be good for the public to know as well.
We can give, when we classify it as a summer project, our intent is to be finished by August 14th when students return.
Okay, so the time is August 14th. And I understand that we have like 18 elementary schools and that I wanna make sure that if we say we're gonna finish it, we try to finish it by then. Thank you.
Okay,
So
all right,
thank you
I
for
think we all
adding the time.
desire to be finished before students come back onto the campus. So with all best intents, but we also plan for
Yeah,
that not happening.
okay, all right.
you said
Okay,
August 14th
When students return, yes.
for August 14th when students return. Okay. Can we have that somewhere on the project list?
Completion dates
We'll
don't.
we'll be bringing you back an update on August 7th when we return from summer break. So we'd be able to provide you an update on these projects at that time.
Great. All right, thanks. So at this point, I'd like to go to public comments. After that, then we'll entertain motions and we can deliberate on those motions. So Erin, do we have any comments on this item?
We do have one.
Okay, let's invite the speaker, please.
San Rao, please raise your hand. You should be able to go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Board President Lou and board members. I did want to ask about, firstly, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I'm on the Bond Oversight Committee, but speaking on behalf of myself. I did want to ask about the rationale for this across the board TK playground retrofit. Firstly, 80% of the school population is not in TK and K. And so it just looks like across the board, the elementary schools get nothing for 80% of the student population. So it just, sort of is mind-boggling that you're spending this first round, especially at a critical time like this, when you want to get to these construction projects in summer break, and 80% of these elementary schools will get nothing out of it. So I'm curious. I heard earlier that it was already approved. And it just feels like the process is lopsided, and this is why you do not earn the trust of district voters, and this is why the previous attempts failed. And it's no wonder the previous attempts failed, because we look at these lists and they don't make sense for 80% of the student population. So I'd like to understand, I just did a quick test at Faria, and I'm told the playground is in decent shape. There's an existing playground. I don't understand why we're spending on these playgrounds 100K or 150K each. And then the description of these projects are really, really light. When you put just one-line descriptions, it's unclear what you're getting for it. What I'd like to see is, if it's design and planning, what is the percentage of the total construction cost? And then I'd like you to really look at asking the project management team for real-life case studies of actual data from past projects across comparable school districts in adjacent areas with the same cost of living, to understand whether these numbers really make any sense. Because once you proportion an amount, that amount will get spent. You give them 200K, that's going to get spent. If you made it 100K, maybe they come back for more. But please don't just give these checks out like this. And I appreciate all the questions from Ava, and I hope all of the other board members would be equally diligent as Ava was. But you really need to be asking more questions. We do not trust how you spend our money And we've rejected this before. The only reason this passed is because these thresholds have dropped. And so I urge you to really think about what is the rationale for these playground improvements across the board that don't benefit 80%. And then the second thing is to really specify what we're getting. Is it a 6-track running track? Is it an 8-track running track? Does it include a synthetic field? What is the total cost and what is the percentage? And then finally, the 4% as a project management fee does seem reasonable. So, but I would request that you please have real data from real case studies, comparable school districts, and really compare against that. And as for actuals, so that you have a sense of what you're giving, and maybe give them a little less.
Okay, thank you. That was the only speaker?
Yes.
Okay, bring it back to the board. Any sort of other deliberation, or if someone like to make a motion? Anybody can go.
Well,
Mhm. Go ahead, Ava. Mhm.
thank you, President Liu, for acknowledging. I do want to emphasize that, we do have a project manager, Mr. Tashimada, and I hope that he will work with our project management company and construction management to really make a push to finish before summer. I understand we have 18 schools, but maybe looking at the contracts, if it was if the companies can't finish within that time and they can't, really reconsider like maybe hiring more different contractors so that they can finish in time, because we do have a lot of schools and having X amount of projects going on at the same time may be too much. But um uh my my other thing is this the round where we do comments, Jerry, since we did questions last time?
Yes, yes. I think we're deep
Oh,
enough into this. Go ahead and share your comments or what have you, please. Go ahead.
okay. I want to be able to move forward with only the projects in which we have already approved money-wise, with the summer projects, with what networking we have approved for IT, and things are the planning for basically all the schools, and then in the district-wide, the central kitchen, the technology that Mahmood has mentioned that we have already done, the um the security software for the 1.3 million. Um, that's what I'm comfortable doing. And I believe it's the reason that we have approved the TK playground is because the TK equipment, our transitional kindergartners, are physically smaller in stature. And there's so much growth that our kids do happen between transitional kindergarten and kindergarten. And that it's the play structure and area needs to be different than kindergarten areas, just because the stature of our kids for safety. We need to be able to redo the area so that kindergartners and TK have separate playing areas so that our kids are safe, just because it's not accepted. And some of it has to do with regulations that is put through with the state. I know that we've been working really hard in getting bathrooms because the toilets just physically have to be smaller for our kids. So even though that transitional kindergarten is one grade level out of the 5 other grade levels or 6 other grade levels that each of our elementary schools holds, our transitional kindergartens are just as valuable as all the other students that we have. And we need to make sure that the equipment they have is age appropriate. So I would be comfortable moving forward with the summer projects that we have listed and talked about, and limiting to that. And I like what Satish was saying of having whatever part of the management budget that would be respective to estimating of how much of the cost would be, just to try to simplify the process, unless someone has a better idea for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ava. I just want to make sure I understood what you're proposing here. So you're proposing to approve all the projects that are listed under the individual schools plus some subset under the district-wide. And would you mind repeating which district-wide ones that you're supportive? So
Sure.
we're
Thank
on
you
the
for
same page,
asking.
please.
Sure, thank you for asking the clarification. Under district wide, and I'll go in order from top to bottom. 15 TBD 1 Central Kitchen and Operations. The networking, I'm not sure. Mamu will have to clarify which networking things are going to be happening in summer.
So for technology, the
Yes,
big
please.
technology one, we're gonna need about $1 million for devices, for student devices. And then technology data infrastructure, it's roughly around 350,000 would be the cabling projects. We're not doing all of them right now in the summer, so it's about 350 for the summer. And then we drop down to the second page for the 1.366 is the strategic system. And then the last one, the 211,000, that one's for switching equipment under E-rate that we've already purchased.
Okay, so so you're talking about 66 TBD 3 for 1.366, 66 TBD 4 for 211, and then going back up to technology 66-0095. How much?
About 1 million, that's our student devices for the next school year.
1 million. Okay.
And then
And
overall.
66
technology, yeah, and then
0096.
Okay.
yeah, and then it's the data infrastructure. Data infrastructure. It's about 350 right now, is what we're estimating for the
3.47. No, I'm sorry. Could I get a
not
dollar amount?
And it's just 350. We're only doing a portion of the cabling right now.
Okay, so let me reiterate, Ava, make sure I have your motion correct. Is everything listed under the schools? Then under district-wide, we have 15-TBD1 for the entire amount of 200K. 66-0095 for 1 million, 66-0096 for 350,000. Then the entirety of 66 TBD3 for 1.366 and TBD4 for 211. Yes?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
And
so
then-
that's the, please go ahead.
66-0097, that would be whatever would incur the cost over the summer.
Well, I need a dollar amount to make it crisp, so.
Well, and those
Oh,
could be
okay.
omitted because the contracts have already been signed
Okay.
that are the specific amount. So
Okay,
that could be
so that-
omitted. It's not specific to a summer project.
All right,
That would be my
okay.
recommendation.
So motion on the table, everything under the schools plus these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that I read earlier. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Sylvia. Any other discussion or comments on this? If not, I just want to maybe just sort of add on to a bit of what Long shared. I do understand these 200,000 are placeholders, but at the same time, I think it's reasonable to think that designing a kitchen and designing a racetrack, I know they're both 200K placeholders, and so I know some may go over, some may go under. I just want to, I guess when I look at these numbers, right, break it down. Let's say you pay somebody $400 an hour. That's an annualized $800,000 a year. We're talking 500 hours. So I would just kind of keep that in mind that I think $200,000 for me, I'm trying to spend this like the way I'm spending my own money. And maybe I shouldn't because I live in a much smaller house than what the district has, but it feels like a lot of money to me. I do understand these are commercial projects, et cetera, but please keep that in mind. You know, at $400 an hour, we're talking 500 hours. That's 12 weeks of somebody working full time. So just want to kind of get that out there. All right.
Can I make another comment?
Okay, sir.
I
Let
heard
her-
her first. Okay, go ahead.
So I just agree with my colleagues, but also just moving forward as we have to continue approving these. I do like seeing the whole picture and seeing the 347 at the bottom and how it all adds up. But I think if we can also pull those things out specifically that we're approving or that you're asking to be approved, as well as, and I know like the meeting that we just had was just a week ago and, you know, there's time constraints and things like that. So understandably, but yeah, moving forward, making sure that there's just some more categorization of what's happening, and just so we can, it just is helpful for keeping track and from a process point of view. So,
Thank you. And then Satish.
Yeah, I presume, I think I just wanted to clarify that 200K kind of thing, right? So I presume this is a placeholder. This is not the actual amount, right? So it could be little higher or it could be even lower, right? So because when you're looking into this an approximate money, we are telling you to go ahead and start planning, right? That's what this message is, rather than just go and spend 200K, right? Clear, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I think that message is clear.
Yeah, I just wanted to show that. I think that's very important for us, because we shouldn't be concerned, oh, does it need 200K or 200K is good enough or not, right? So let's be clear. And as I agree with Jerry, what he said, I think we have to be, I know that you will be doing that, but still though, like, every hour counts on this, right? So that's important. And another thing is also, before I vote for this, like, I think, I know that we are doing the subset, but somewhere public should see, or the community should see, that what else we are not done, right? Because people shouldn't be thinking we are doing only TK stuff, or we are spending so much on that, because there are probably about 80% of the other money we spending on further things also. So something which is in the pipeline, probably people should be able to see it as well. I don't know how it is going to be shown, other than referring into the master bond list. Some way people should know this could be coming in the next summer, or this could be coming 2 years from now, because this time length could be another 4 years or 5 years, which you will be doing it. This is for this summer, so it is not once for all what you are doing. So that is important. So that will give a lot of understanding from the community perspective.
I think once we get these underway, again, once we get the summer underway, we can start doing some of the marketing and PR and sharing with our community what's happening, what status we are. And I think just emphasizing, I think we all want to maximize every dollar out of this bond. We know it's not going to cover everything. And so we do have to make some very wise decisions and maximize every dollar and what's our highest priority.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other? If not, then Aaron, if we could go ahead with. Oh, I'm sorry, Ava, did you have something? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
I have my hands raised. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I like to see in the future more details in the description of what we are estimating with the estimated timeline. I do understand with construction things could change and it's flexible, but it'll be good to have that out there. We do want to make sure that we spend money wisely since it's public money, and ensure that the bond goes a long way. And I think it might be helpful to add on the master bond list, the facility FMP list. So that would be a good reference when this item comes up for the public to look at, to keep the bigger picture in mind. Here are the other projects that we have in the future, but we may not have allocated the exact funds for, or what was a placeholder funds to be spent. Thank you.
Thank you, Ava. All right, let's go ahead with a roll call vote, please, Aaron.
Trustee Chow,
Aye.
Trustee Chow,
Aye.
Trustee Leong,
I,
Trustee Matt Hattel,
Aye.
Trustee Lu.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. All right, moving on. Item 5.1, employee organizations. Do we have any speakers tonight?
We do. We have CEA President Kate Lee.
Okay. Welcome, President Lee.
Hello again, board members, executive cabinet, COC teachers and community from our earlier board advance today. During board advance, it was good to see the board approval of moving the public comments and employee organizations back to the first part of the agenda so that our teachers and our community members' voices and concerns are heard, and it's not a huge time commitment or late at night and other hurdles for them to speak at our board meetings. I agree with the board members that our employee organizations have never filibustered during their designated time to speak, and are always conscious of keeping our comments to the point. But unfortunately, this year, there have been a lot of meetings that have required me to address multiple points on the agenda, and as well as things that are not on the agenda. However, at this time, I am comfortable with the 6 minutes time limit for employee organizations, for each employee organization that was approved by the board today, and we'll see how that works for next year. I was also pleased to see during the 25-26 preliminary budget board advanced study session earlier today that additional retirement incentives will be offered each year over the next several years. I think this will be very beneficial for balancing our budget and getting out of the current deficit, and it will provide more opportunity for our CEA members who were unable to take advantage of this year's retirement incentive, further opportunities for retirement for them. I don't think it was in the budget, it was in the financial stabilization plan. And I know that's not been finalized or approved or anything, but I strongly encourage it because many of our teachers and other employees were not able to participate in that this year. The presentation on Measure Z was really helpful to understand the process and plans for implementing Measure Z. I appreciate all the work that has gone into this planning. I still wonder why plumbing replacement and repairs, particularly bathrooms on our sites, is not listed on slide 2 about how the facilities master plan guides Measure Z. I know that plumbing upgrades were originally listed in the bond information prior to the approval of the measure, and that was clearly prioritized by staffs and students in their surveys. We also have to upgrade bathrooms for TK and K areas so that we meet state compliance to TK bathrooms and fencing. And this is also in the play areas too. This is also required for kinder. Where is that money? And what is the plan for getting compliant with TK and K toileting and fencing state ed code requirements? I don't see that on the plan at all for the bond. I'm hoping all of the bathroom upgrades our schools need will show up in detail for all sites in the next phase of implementation in the fall. However, it's concerning that plumbing is not listed anywhere at this time still. I also wonder why each separate running track project will cost $200,000 just to plan and design. Why would each track design process require to start from zero and be designed separately? I would think that a general design could be created for all running tracks. Then any specific requirements for each site could be added to each design. This would save the district quite a bit of money. Otherwise, we will be spending $200,000 just to plan each track. Currently, that's $1 million. It is also concerning how much we are planning to spend on planning for all the TKK playground retrofits. Again, couldn't there be one basic design that could be applied to all sites and then add the small specifics or changes for each site individually? Again, I think that would save us millions of dollars if it's feasible to combine these design projects. So it's just an idea or suggestion. I'm not saying I'm an expert on these processes or these designs. So those are my comments for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the next item is public comments for items not on the agenda. So this is a part of the meeting for the public to address the board on items that were not on the agenda tonight. So we generally allocate 20 minutes. Do we have any comments?
Yes, we have one.
Okay, let's welcome the speaker.
Daniel Boone.
Boone.
If you're joining virtually, Daniel, please raise your hand.
Yeah, welcome, Daniel.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Good evening, and if I could have my camera turned on, that'd be great. Hello, are you able to hear me?
We are able to hear you. Are we doing the camera or?
Yeah, it just
Okay.
takes a second to promote. Daniel, you should be able to turn your camera on now as well.
Great, thank you so much. Good evening, Honorable Board President Liu, esteemed members of the board, and Madam Superintendent Yao. My name is Danny Bian, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Impactor Pathway, a company focused on soft skills measurement. It was great to hear the robust discussion about the bond project. This is clearly very important work. But tonight, I'm actually here to address a different matter, which has also been mentioned earlier during the meeting as well. I'm a Silicon Valley native and an uncle of children in Cupertino Union, so I'm especially excited to be here to celebrate the outstanding work that Cupertino Union is doing around the implementation of your Portrait of a Learner. I've been in communication with district leadership for nearly 2 years, and it's clear that Cupertino Union is well ahead of the curve in the implementation of this important framework. As members of the Silicon Valley, we all know that AI is advancing, and as the landscapes in higher education and workforce shift, developing these future-ready skills has never been more important. In fact, the California State Board of Education will soon adopt its own Portrait of a Graduate framework. I recently had the opportunity to attend your Future Ready Learning event with my colleague, Dr. Francisco Escobedo, who's a member of the California State Board of Education. He also serves as Impactor Pathways Superintendent in Residence. Dr. Escobedo and I have been visiting Portrait of a Graduate districts throughout the state, but that evening we were especially impressed by Superintendent Yao's and Dr. Daggett's presentations. What really stood out to us that night was the remarkable cohesion at all levels within the district, from Board President Liu to district leadership to site leadership and staff. Cupertino Union's academic excellence and records speak for itself, but your deep commitment to supporting students in the development of these vital future-ready skills is truly inspiring. Cupertino Union is unquestionably leading the way in your Portrait of a Learner work, so Dr. Escobedo and I are excited to see how your efforts will continue to set the standard in whole child development, both in the Silicon Valley and beyond. During Dr. Daggett's presentation, he asked a very important question. How will you measure students in the development and growth of these portrait skills? This is the question that Impactor Pathway is excited to engage district leadership to address, to ensure that students' growth in these critical areas is measured and supported. So in closing, congratulations to everyone at Cupertino Union for your leadership in this important work. Your dedication to student success is truly inspiring, and I want to thank you and wish you all a wonderful summer break. Good evening.
Thank you, Danny. Okay, and this is our only speaker, right?
Correct.
Great, thank you. All right, then following this, we have 5 action items tonight. So 7.1 is the approval for 25-26 LCAP. So as a reminder to my colleagues, we generally protocol is to have a motion on the table before any deliberations. So unless there's a staff presentation.
There's none.
Okay, I will welcome a motion for the approval of this item.
We'll make a motion.
Thank you, Satish. In a second, please. Thank you, Long. Any questions or discussion? Okay, okay, Ava, did you have a hand up? Okay, please go ahead.
I just want to let the public know that this is our second time viewing the LCAP. We had our LCAP discussion at the last board meeting.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that clarification for the public. Ava, okay. With that then, let's go ahead with a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
Trustee Chow,
Aye.
Trustee Leong,
Aye.
Trustee Madhato,
Aye.
Trustee Liu.
Aye. Oh, I forgot to ask for public comments.
No, there are not.
They're not. Okay, well, I will ask next time. Thank you. 7.2, this is the approval of the budget that we spent a good part of the day discussing. Could I get a motion, please? Thank you, Long. And a second?
I will second.
Thanks, Satish. Any discussion, question, public comment?
No.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
Trustee Chow,
Aye.
Trustee Leong,
Aye.
Trustee Madhato,
Aye.
Trustee Liu.
Aye. Okay, 7.3, approval of the 25-26 federal addendum. Yeah, can I get a motion, please?
I can move.
Thanks, Sylvia. And a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Satish. No comments, questions, any public comments?
No.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
Trustee Chow,
Aye.
Trustee Leong,
Aye.
Trustee Madhato,
Aye.
Trustee Liu.
Aye. Item 7.4, approval of the 24-25 Prop 28 annual report. Could I get a motion, please?
I move the
Thanks, Ava.
2024 to 2025 federal addendum report.
No, actually, wait, we're on the Prop 20,
28.
we're on the Prop 28 annual report. Would
Oh, I'm
you
sorry, reading
make a
wrong
motion
item.
for that?
7.4, I
Yes.
move to 7.4 approval of the 2024 to 2025 Prop 28 annual report. Sorry, I had it
Thank
wrong.
you. Yeah, thank you, Ava.
Second.
And thanks, Sylvia. Any discussions, questions, public comments?
No.
Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
trustee Chow,
Aye.
trustee Leong,
Aye.
trustee Madhato,
Aye.
trustee Lu.
Aye. All right, next item is the approval of the reading screener software we reviewed last week. So could I get a motion, please?
I can make a motion for that.
Thanks, Satish, and a second.
I second.
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please, Ava.
I just want to thank our staff for taking the time and our teachers who volunteered to pilot the different screeners that were approved by the state. And they had data behind their reasonings of choosing which screener to go with. I think this is valuable, and it's good to hear that in addition to these screeners, we still have ongoing assessments for our students so that we have a more comprehensive idea of where the students' needs are at and where they stand academically. I do want to still keep in mind that the district, especially for the lower grades, which there are a lot more assessments to give them the time to assess our students in a more comprehensive way. Thank you, because there's so many assessments.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Ava, for providing that context. It's really great. And okay, public comments?
No.
Roll public.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
trustee Chow,
Aye, sorry, I forgot it was me.
trustee Leong,
Aye.
trustee Madhato,
Aye.
trustee Lu.
Aye. Okay, moving on to consent. We have 15 items on the consent calendar tonight. Could I get a motion, please?
I'll move.
Okay, thanks, Sylvia. In a second.
A second.
Thanks, Long. Okay, that's a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zhao,
Aye.
trustee Chow,
Aye.
trustee Leong,
Aye.
trustee Madhato,
Aye.
trustee Lu.
Aye. Okay, next item is the board activities and committee reports. Anybody have anything you'd like to share? I'll just jump right in. Graduation.
And I forgot what.
Graduation.
Oh, yeah, graduation was one. I think all of us were there on the whole day. It was a great event to watch or being part of it. Thanks staff for doing or making it in such a wonderful place, except for the parking, even for the parents. But I think overall it came out pretty well and a good part. Thanks.
Yeah, it was fun for the eighth grade promotion, and yeah, it was my first time to be there because my son's graduation skipped it. It was a COVID year, so I had nothing. So it's fun to be there.
Okay.
Congratulations to all of our students who promoted onward to high school. Wishing you the best of luck.
All right, and then Ava, please go ahead. See your hand up.
Yeah, I believe this is our first time that we were in Performance Arts Center. It's just for scheduling. That was the San Jose Performance Center of Arts. Was there for Hides. So go Lions! Great job, Lions, for graduating, and also was able to fit in a visit to go see Murdoch Fortel. It's good to see the Penguins collaborating and seeing their creativity.
Okay, thanks, Ava. I'll just my congrats to for the graduates, like everybody else. I also did want to mention that Superintendent Yao and I attended the ceremony at McAuliffe,
And they held it at their school, and it's very different. It was very folksy. There was a lot of musical performance. We sat like back in the audience in the middle. You never know we were there, although they recognized us, but it was just really, you could just feel the community, the fact that everyone was talking to everybody else. You felt like you were at a extended family picnic of sorts, because there were just random chairs set up and there were performances. And because of the small size of the school, those graduates who wanted to speak got to speak and, share their thoughts. And many of them turned out had been there all 9 years. And they're, you think about that, being at a place for 9 years and how much of a change that was. But I just really wanted to recognize that I really felt that sense of community being there. I was really grateful to have the opportunity to attend. Thank you.
And I think I and Sylvia attended for the clip graduation also. That was good too.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Agenda setting. I think our next meeting will be in August, but we'll take requests now. Anything, if anybody want to add? Okay, if not, think about it over the summer. And with that, then I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the last meeting of our school year here at 7:50. Thanks, everyone.